Right, so we're getting back to the Dyno project. There has been a little bit of a video fail, I'm going to be honest. We've had James, Dave and Ruin and everyone here this Christmas. We've been ploughing on with the BX and sort of Chris's Land Rover and just other things, and I have been doing this, but I've sort of not been doing a lot of videoing. So we've got both of the brakes completely rebuilt now, and they're both in the frame, as you can see. So the next stage when we did that was to basically get the plumbing sorted. So if we come down the bottom, obviously there's the main cooling loop, which is ran by this 3-phase pump which came with the dyno here. This is the water storage tank, so this is where the water sits to give you plenty of cooling sort of absorption capability. So obviously the flow is out the bottom, there's a drain there as well, into the pump, and then we've just made up using just normal PVC plastic sort of swimming pool pipe into the dyno. Underneath this cover here, which I just made the other day, if you can see, it basically gets teed underneath, so it comes in teed, and you've got a feed and a return from each brake via the thermos valve. That there has a probe which sticks in the bottom of the brake, senses the temperature and regulates the temperature inside the heat exchanger, and then obviously it just returns back into the tank again. So once we had that plumbed in and everything, we wanted to sort of leak test it, because there's obviously a lot of time gone into rebuilding the brakes, the new seals, etc, etc, and all this pipe work. There was a lot of potential for leaks, so we sort of got some basic wiring sorted out to enable us to do that. This bit of board we bodged up here is just basically going to be all the control stuff. It's not finished yet. So inside the box here is just a 12-volt power supply, and all the wires coming from the handset and the load cells and all the water solenoids effectively will just come into there for sort of termination, etc. So on the bottom here we've got the first of the two VFDs. So there's one that's going to run the extractor fan for the exhaust, and there's this one here which is running the water pump. So if we turn the main isolator on, that basically fires up the 12-volt supply, and if we just give it a second, the VFD will warm up. That enables us to run the 3-phase, the extractor and the water pump are 3-phase, but we're only on single-phase power here. It does also give us the bonus of being able to vary the speed of the extractor fan. So when that's fired up, for a minute I'm just pressing the go button. I'm hoping to have the computer control it all eventually. Oh, sorry, I haven't pressed it. That'll just ramp up the water pump. You can just hear some air splashing into the tank. So there's now pumping water through the heat exchangers, back through the returns, and we actually didn't have very many leaks. We had a couple small ones that just wanted jubilees tightening down, and other than that the water side is working. So you just press stop again, just ramps back down again. I believe it's important not to just shut these off, because I think the motor back feeds as it spins down and fries the VFDs, so we will try not to do that. Right, so we're just looking in one of the brake units. Both brake units are basically identical, everything's the same. This isn't really what I would call finished. We're still experimenting at the moment with how it should be set up perfectly, because I've actually modified it from the factory. The basic principle behind it, obviously you've got your rotor and stator in here, and obviously you adjust the water level in each one when that varies your load on the rollers. So obviously to do that we've got two buttons, load and unload, which effectively just operate an unloader valve and a load valve. There's one of those in each brake frame. Now originally it's all done with very small 1/8" plastic fittings. You've got a load in the front ear and an unload in the bottom. Obviously on older cars that was fine, because you could ramp it up fairly, but the problem is, I think a lot of people find with these dynos now, is they don't load fast enough to respond to sort of modern, especially big torquey diesels like the sort of thing we're putting on here. So I've basically up-rated everything in the respect to everything is now 10mm hose. So if we start from the beginning, this is your coolant line coming in, so this is your high pressure side, so that's where it's getting its feed from, which runs up to the load solenoid, which then comes around, is then teed, so that's the original loading point. So that's what goes to the vane tip, which is, although we've got 10mm coming in, inside the brake it's fairly restrictive. So what we've done is we've teed that and come up round and we've got a 10mm fitting here that goes straight in the side of the brake. And this on the flow out the front of this pipe when you push the button is quite immense, and that really does load it down quickly, considering we've got 2 brakes with 2 10mm feeds doing the same, plus the original feed there. So that's how it loads using the handset. Then the unloader is the original fitting out the bottom via another solenoid valve, and then it drains around and up into the tank. So all the water is self-contained in the tank, nothing gets drained to the floor. Now we have had a few cars on now and we've tested it, and we're having a few issues with a random issue, but once it's down and working, it seems to work incredibly well. In fact, we've had a BX with a 2052 VNT on, and we were actually able to very quickly and easily bog that one down, and that's just on a wastegate control on the VNT vanes, so it's incredibly bottom end, all or nothing, and it bogged that one down no trouble at all. As you can see there, they've got the 2 white lines coming up into the top of the tank. That's just the 2 drains from the water brakes. So obviously when you press the unloader, it just drains the 2 brakes back into the tank, and all the water's kept in one place. That tank is about half full at the moment, just because we've been testing it, and we have put a can full of some inhibitor in it, which should hopefully prevent corrosion. So if I just turn the power back on a minute and come around some of the electric side of it, as you see in the previous video, I converted the hand controller from a winch to be the main dyno controller. You'll see we've mounted 2 screens here. This is in preparation for having the computer here. I'm hopefully going to be converting this, running 2 modern load cells, a magnetic pickup, and running some proper modern dyno sort of data logging graphing software, so we can actually do proper power runs and sort of see what's going on. But we haven't done that yet, just because we're still learning about the dyno. So we've got the main control here, so we've got the 2 buttons on the top, which is your air brakes. So that one will put the brakes on. See the pressure rising there. That basically enables you to drive the car on or off. Obviously the rollers will spin otherwise and you can't get off. So the green button's your drain, so that just releases the brakes so the rollers can spin. Then you've got load and unload. So as I said, that one there, if you listen, that effectively opens the 2 load solenoids, and the green button opens the 2 drain solenoids. Literally as simple as that. It seems to respond very well. Just on a bit of cable there, you can just, because you're effectively sat pretty much where I'm stood now in the car, and you can just hold that one there, and obviously the screens are in a position where we should be able to see them.